Thanks for choosing RTV News. I'm Isabel Masozera. As we begin this edition, let us inform you that President Paul Kagame has chaired a cabinet meeting that discussed various policies of national interest. Among the resolutions reached during this meeting was the release of Paul Rusesabagina and Sabimana, who were granted a presidential pardon. Paul Rusesabagina, who was serving a 25-year sentence in Rwanda and multiple charges, including terrorism charges, has been pardoned. To Yolande Makolo, the government spokesperson, who made the time earlier to join me to shed more light on Paul Rusesabagina's presidential pardon.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we'll just dig in. Paul Rusesabagina actually made the time to write a letter acknowledging his faults in pursuit of a presidential pardon, which now has been granted. I wanted, first of all, to understand what factored into making this decision.
The granting of presidential pardon is something that we do regularly within our laws. It is something that is within the prerogatives of the president. So this presidential clemency is in this framework. Rusesabagina and Kalis Sabimana, along with 18 of their co-accused, have been granted presidential clemency, and their sentences have been commuted. But this, according to our law, this does not mean that the underlying conviction is extinguished. This stays on, which means that if they commit crimes that they were convicted for, or similar crimes, they are liable to rearrest. This clemency that has been granted will allow them to serve out the rest of their sentence as free people.
I want you to shed a little bit more light on that in terms of where he is going to be staying when he is moving on with his life. As you said, he can now serve the rest of his sentence as a free man. Will he be staying in Rwanda, or will he be going back to the US? And should he decide to go back to the US, are there measures in place should he defy some of the terms, for example, venturing back into politics?
Yeah. So it's important to understand that Rusesabagina has accepted moral responsibility for the crimes that he was convicted for in the letter that he submitted to the Minister of Justice. He has also made important pledges for his future conduct, including his exit from politics. We expect that after his release, he will be, in a few days, he will travel to Qatar, and from then he will travel on to the US, to the United States, where he has expressed his wish to live a quiet life with his family.
I want to touch Qatar a little bit because this was highlighted even by the press secretary, and there was indeed a highlight of the relationship between Rwanda and Qatar. What role does Qatar play in all of this?
Qatar has played a role in seeking a humanitarian resolution to this case, and also playing a very important role in facilitating the post-release logistics. We have been speaking with the U.S. government for some time now, and we've had very constructive dialogue in a condition of mutual respect on the real issues behind this case, and we have been able to reach an understanding. And we appreciate the role both of Qatar, and we note the very constructive role played by the U.S. government in this case.
Oh, yes. Interesting you bring up the U.S. government. There's a lot of speculation on whether or not the pressure from the U.S. government played any role in terms of arriving at this decision.
Well, I mean, it's true that the U.S. has shown for a long time interest in this case, but Rwanda has also maintained our very serious concerns on this issue, especially as regards political violence by armed groups including those that are led by people operating in developed countries. And this speaks to the safety of Rwandans. So we have had, we have agreed on the very real concerns that we have, and we have come to a resolution with the case in this way.
All right. Now, before I let you go, when it comes to the release of these perpetrators, it's hard to ignore the victims. What does this mean for them?
Well, first of all, justice was done. It's important to note that justice has been done. The consensus is the serious crimes were committed. Rwanda was justified in pursuing these criminals and in arresting them, and our courts were correct in convicting and sentencing them. So the victims are justified in this. What this part of the condition for this commutation is that the civil suit and the compensation that that the court decided on remains. This is also not extinguished. So the people whose sentences have been commuted, including Mr. Sabagina, are still liable for the compensation to the victims.
What is the take home for the nation and for the world in all of this?
I think the take home is that Rwanda takes security and safety of Rwandans very seriously. And there are laws that govern all of us that we all have to abide by. And those who break the law, including those who use violence to try and get into politics, will have to be answerable to the law. And this will not stop. We want this to be a country, to remain a country of law and order, and our justice system is there to protect all of us and to ensure that things happen according to the laws that are set for all of us to follow. And we make no excuses about that.
Thank you so much for making the time to talk to us. Yolande Makolo, the government's spokesperson. We now move on. Rwanda and Uganda have agreed to cooperate in political, military and security sectors to solve political instability prompted by the militias in the DRC. Prince Manzi has this report.
On Friday, the two countries signed 4 memoranda of understanding in the fields of justice and constitutionalism, mutual legal assistance, diplomatic and political consultations, and migration matters. The MOUs were signed in Kigali on Friday during the conclusion of the 11th Joint Permanent Commission between the government of Rwanda and the government of Uganda. The Ugandan Minister of Foreign Affairs, General Jade Odongo, states that the signing of these MOUs by both nations is a milestone in solving different issues, including insecurities caused by militias operating in the Eastern DRC.
The problems in Eastern DRC, as I mentioned, affect both of us. ADF, which affects Uganda, is resident in Eastern DRC. FDLR, which affects Rwanda, is in Eastern DRC. Two hands are better than one. And that's why I said we should continue to work together so that together within the region, both in East Africa and the region under the International Conference of the Great Lakes region, we are in finding a solution in Eastern DRC.
The Rwandan Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Dr. Vincent Biruta, reiterated at this meeting and the MOU signed are signs of a political will in strengthening good relations between the two countries.
The 11th Joint Permanent Commission meeting will be remembered for the MOUs on diplomatic and political consultations, migration, justice, and mutual legal assistance that we just signed. This outcome reaffirms our commitment to expand our cooperation and collaboration to all strategic aspects of our relations. This JPC meeting responds well to our President's political commitment to renewed and reinvigorated bilateral relations. We should maintain the momentum in the implementation of decisions agreed in this meeting.
Minister Biruta revealed that Rwanda opened gates for the Uganda Airlines, a move that the Ugandan Minister of Foreign Affairs states that it is essential in bilateral cooperation.
Uganda welcomes the acceptance of the designation of our national carrier, Uganda Airlines, by Rwanda authorities, which will lead to its commencing of direct flights from their hub in Entebbe to Kigali, and this will further boost trade, enhance connectivity, and contribute to strengthening people-to-people exchanges.
During the meeting, the Rwanda Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation revealed that he is expecting to have a working visit in Kampala in the near future, aimed at strengthening the bilateral relations between Rwanda and Uganda. The 11th Joint Permanent Commission between Rwanda and Uganda is slated after 2 years in Uganda. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Great progress for the East African integration. Now moving on, the private sector players in Rwanda and Uganda say that they are ready to uphold the good relations between the two countries, and to promote business and investment. Adam Squizella with more.
On Friday, the Rwanda's and Uganda private sector met in Kigali to discuss available investment opportunities in both countries, despite the poor relationship that had been grown in 2019, which immediately harmed the business activities between these two countries. The Chief Executive Officer of Rwanda Development Board, RDB, Claire Kamanzi, shown to the Ugandan private sector that Rwanda has opened its doors to everyone willing to invest.
But why consider Rwanda as a place that you should do even more business? First of all, as you've said as you've seen in the video, Rwanda is growing, and you can grow with Rwanda. Our 10-year average economic growth rate has been almost 8% before the pandemic, and that made Rwanda one of the fastest growing economies in Africa. Our economy has recovered and continues to recover post-pandemic with and in Rwanda. The World Bank has ranked Rwanda the second easiest place to do business in Africa, only after Mauritius, ranking the 38th in the world. Thirdly, Rwanda has automated and streamlined its business processes for you.
The private sector on both sides identified investment opportunities in various sectors, including industry, tourism, transportation, and agriculture, among others. The Deputy Director of the Uganda Investment Authority, Richard Nwensiga, expressed the willingness of the Uganda's private sector to invest in Rwanda, especially as the relationship continues to grow.
This summit is an opportunity to build on this relationship, explore new avenues for collaboration, specifically in trade and industry. Uganda Investment Authority is committed to considering investment promotions events with RDB through redoubling our investment promotion efforts, further lowering the cost of doing business through our sister agencies at One Stop Center. Also at Uganda Investment Authority, we have One Stop Center where we accommodate over 16 government agencies, and you can get your investment license within 24 hours.
One of the things that was discussed is to speed up the customs service delivery at borders so that private sector activities would not be delayed. Minister of State for East African Community Affairs, Professor Nshuti Manasseh, assured the participants that Rwanda is willing to work with Uganda as a neighboring country that has a strong history with Rwanda.
I think what we have not done is to bring that knowledge together to make it work better for the people of Rwanda, indeed for brothers and sisters in Uganda. But we have a chance to do that. We have a chance to do that in this room, and of course out of this room, to make sure that we walk the talk. My brother had mentioned non-tariff barriers. They are there, but they are put in by people, they are removed by people. They are not superficial animals out there. These non-tariff barriers, whether they come in the form of corruption, which is not acceptable, whether they are roadblocks, whether they are bureaucracies, they are by people and they can be removed by people. And so we need to be talking, which are these barriers?
The private sector in Rwanda and Uganda have been already expanding their investment, hence to satisfy the market of the member countries of the East African community, which has now reached to over 400 million citizens. Adam Squizera, RTV News.
Thank you, Adams. Key private sector representatives and investors say that they are proud of the fund that has been set up to support investment in the industry. They say it will enable them to scale up their businesses. Jessica Agasaro now reports.
Some of the problems faced by the private sector are mainly based on not having enough money to promote their activities. And even if it is available from financial institutions, it is always at a high cost. This slows down their investments, as the representatives of some of the industries operating in Rwanda explain. Many times we have a cash flow problem. That causes us not to do something. When we find a way to get money to do our project in the factory, such as buying commercial vehicles, they come to us quickly, or we can expand the factory. There are some foreign industries that are entering the Rwandan market, and there are also those in Rwanda that have started exporting their products to other countries. They all agree that they are eager to open their market to as many countries as possible, especially those on African continent, since the Common Market Agreement has already provided freedom in the movement of goods and services.
When we started working in Rwanda, we still had an African plan, but Rwanda was where we had our headquarters. Once the cars we sell are popular in Rwanda, we will immediately go to the rest of Africa. We have confidence at the Rwandan market and Africa as well. We have cars that Africans and Rwandans will love, match the characteristics of each country. We will improve the way the car buyers get all the services. We are still setting up warehouse all over Africa. We have started in Ghana, Gabon, and we hope that all of Africa will enjoy our services.
In the third month, Rwanda received the Office of Fund intended to help in the private sector in Africa, including getting loans to increase their investment. The president of the Confederation of Industrialists in Rwanda, Gahunga Jean-Claude, states that this is a good news for private sector and that they are ready to make use of this opportunity.
Exporting is not enough because our industry is small. The company that will help us is to expand the industry and export in all possible ways, because if you look at it, we get less foreign exchange because we don't export enough.
Minister of Trade and Industry points out that the establishment of this fund will increase investment on the African continent, thus making the continent more competitive.
Who trade and who do we want to achieve in the African common market. So it's a way which will help them to get money that includes in 3 categories, including low-cost loans, and that's what makes it difficult for the private sector. You understand that most of the benefits are for the private sector.
Agreement establishing the African common market. The agreement establishing the African common market envisioned that the expansion of trade will lead to the transfer of goods between member countries of the continent from a value of $1.2 billion to $5 billion in the year of 2035. Jessica Agasaro, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Jessica. Various farmers across the country are concerned about the heavy rains which are damaging their crops. We have more with Adams Kwizera.
In the mediation week, various activities were undertaken, including pieces of training of different lawyers and personnel in the justice sector to improve skills in professional mediation. These are the take of some of the trainees. We are lawyers, but now we're given skills on how to take care of our clients, follow up on their cases, for the dispute to be solved fast and without going to court, as it becomes expensive. In courts, one side is in loss and the other receives nothing. But specifically, like us in the financial sector, we have to solve issues with our clients without concerning other parties. and it will help us in maintaining the good relations with our client, and it is something unusual in the laws we had.
Icyo rero tubona ari ingenzi cyane kitari gihari mu mategeko yandi asanzwe.
The deputy chairperson of the Mediation Advisory Committee, Bernadette Wikeza, states that professional mediation is essential in overcoming challenges found in the justice sector.
Mediation requires another set of skills, different from the skills required from litigating in the court system. So if you want to create a mind shift from litigation, because we realize that many lawyers have been educated in creating conflict instead of resolving conflicts. Now we are in a kind of paradigm shift through this training, because lawyers are having this approach of being problem solvers instead of being litigants.
The official says that as a nation that went through the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, some disputes are trauma-related and currently are being handled only basing on the laws, but these trainings favor lawmakers to follow up the case and depose a solution through unity.
We all go through difficult times that leaves trauma in our lives. What we do in this training is also to help people understand how they can help people with trauma-related conflicts, because when people are traumatized, they are stuck in conflict. So we would like also this training helps also to understand how to take a trauma approach in resolving disputes.
Ever since the beginning of this program in 2018, 400 lawmakers were trained and 3,000 cases were solved through mediation. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
We apologize for that technical hiccup. Well, the mediation week activities have concluded. We now have the reports on various farmers across the country who are concerned about the heavy rains that are now damaging their crops. We go to Adam Squizera for more.
Last night's rainfall did not claim any lives so far, but it has affected various agriculture activities in some parts of Kigali city, as some residents point out the loss they faced. Wherever it rains, it comes excessively. As where we try to plant crops, it washes away due to this heavy rainfall.
We have water that comes from the river and also breaks directly here in our home. We can't save anything from there.
The Director General of Rwanda Meteorology, Gahigi Aimable, noted that the forecast indicated that there will be heavy rainfall in this winter season. There are some parts of the country where there are heavy rainfall from 21st to 31st April. That's why we warn everyone, because it seems that there will be storms. But if people are well prepared for these effects, they will probably not experience them. Nothing will surprise us, especially in places that are not often hit by winds. It is important to check the condition of the roofs and plan daily activities based on the information provided by Rwanda Meteorology. The ministry in charge of emergency management notes that the people should take actions in preventing disasters caused by this heavy rainfall, as the minister Kaisire Marisorange points out.
Let's clear the waterways both on the roads and in our homes and in the neighborhood. People who destroyed the foundations in the waterways should be avoided because it damages the waterways, and they should also be there to warn those who pass around these risky places.
Climate change has led to unpredictable weather patterns in the world, where there have been some places which completely lacked rain and other places experienced heavy rain which caused disasters. Adam Squizera, RwandaTV News.
I'm Isabel Masozer on behalf of the entire RTV team here. Thanks for watching.